Hi students, I wanted to make a video to help develop our intuition for some of these matrices that we're going to be organizing our data in MATLAB. So far we've talked about scalars. So if you have one value that we want to store in memory, this gets stored as, let's say, a scalar. And it's basically a 1 by 1 cell. It's just one little spot. The size of this one particular cell in memory depends on what we want to store in it, but it's just kind of like one number or one character or something like that. If we have a list of these same numbers, then we might organize this into what's called an array. So our array of numbers, this would be organized in MATLAB almost like a matrix. So we have one row, and then we have 4 columns. These aren't columns as like, because there's only one entry in the column. So actually it's just a vector or an array. But the dimensions of this would be a 1 by 4, where this is the number of rows. There's only one row. And the second number is the number of columns. Okay, so if we have a vector like this, and here's another one I'll show you. I got this at a block set at Goodwill. So this particular one is a 1 by 10, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 elements in our array. And suppose we have another one here. So we actually have 20 pieces of information that we want to store. We're going to organize it in now very clearly a matrix. So now this matrix has 2 rows. This is the first row and the second row. And so the dimensions of this matrix would be a 2 by 10. And we can index into this matrix like this. So suppose I want to fill this position here with a number. Let's say I want to store in the number 11 in that spot. So to get to it, if this is my matrix that's been defined as M, I can index into this by basically a coordinate system. So in the second row, so I'm going to put 2 here, and in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th column, I want to set this cell that's at that position to the number 11. And I can do that in MATLAB like that. Suppose I want to maybe extract the values that are in this column. So in this 9th column right here, suppose I want these numbers that are in this column. Let's say these numbers are like 3 and 4. And I need those for a calculation. So to index into this matrice at this position here, the way I would do that is, here's my matrix M. I want all the rows, right? So we have 2 rows, 1 and 2. If I want the values in all the rows, so I want both of these values, I'm going to use this colon here, and this is the first field here is for rows. So I want all the rows. My previous example, I wanted an entry in just the second row. So I want the entries in all of the rows and in the 9th column. So if I type this in, the MATLAB is going to spit out for me 3, 4. Okay, and likewise, I can grab, say, like the first 3 entries of the first row. So suppose I want these, and in here maybe I have stored the numbers 9, 7, 15, something like that. So to get to these values that are stored in my matrix, what would I do? The row that I want is the first row, and the columns that I want are columns 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to ask for columns between 1 and 3. And if I type this into MATLAB, that's how I can index into this particular spot. So that would be a 2 by 10. This, for example, would be a 3 by 10 matrix. Let me show you. Suppose we have the big one, right? This is a square matrix. This is a 10 by 10. We can actually go into higher dimensions. So if I have one matrix like this that I have data stored in, suppose I have a list of such matrices, right? So here's my list of 3 matrices. I can think of this as an array of matrices, and this is referred to as a multidimensional array. So visually you can kind of think about it like this. It's an array of matrices. We're not going to use this too much in this class, but just so you know what it is in case you have a future application. But for this next lab, we're going to be using matrices. So this is really how you should visualize it. We have a notation for the index, right? So the position, basically which row and column, and then we have an actual value that's stored in that cell at that position. Okay, so after this I have another video for you to watch that will help you declare these matrices, fill them with values and index into them, and let me know if you have any questions.